Hey, beautiful mum. Last week I talked about advocacy and how sometimes speaking up for your child takes courage. This week I want to stay with that thought but come at it from a slightly different angle because sometimes our children's struggles are quieter, less obvious, and easier to miss. That's what happened with my son Sam. Sammy is 3 years younger than Pete, and he's completely different from his brother in almost every way. Pete's struggles were easier to see, and he took up a lot of my worry and energy. Sam was my easy child. He wasn't hyperactive or a fussy eater. He fitted in socially, and he loved going to kindy. So for a long time, Sam flew under the radar. I didn't have any concerns when he started primary school, and everything seemed to be going well until his 3rd year. Then after one school holiday, he didn't want to go back to school. He cried and clung to me at the school gate, but I was sure he'd be fine once he got back into the school routine. But as the weeks went by, things got worse, and then he started complaining about tummy pains. There was no clear medical reason, so I arranged a meeting with his teacher. She said he seemed fine once he got to school, but I knew in my heart something was wrong. Why had my happy little boy, who'd always loved kindy in school, suddenly changed? What I didn't understand back then is that physical symptoms like tummy aches can sometimes be a sign of anxiety or distress, especially when a child can't tell you, I'm scared, or I'm overwhelmed, or I can't cope. But Sam wasn't like Pete, so I didn't realise he was also struggling in a way I needed to understand more deeply. Then his grades started to slip, so I took him for phonics lessons, and it was his phonics teacher who first suggested that Sam might be dyslexic. I felt so guilty. Why hadn't I realised sooner that Sam's behaviour was because he was struggling? But he couldn't tell me. Over the next couple of years, we tried everything, but my happy Sam was gone. He didn't like school anymore, and by the time he went to intermediate school, so much damage had already been done. By 13, he got in with a difficult group of friends, and the next 3 years were incredibly hard. He was running away, acting out, even using drugs, and eventually he dropped out of school. There were times when it felt like we'd lost him for good, but I never gave up hope, even when he acted like he hated me and nothing seemed to be working. My Sammy turns 21 this year, and he's doing really well. He did a course with his dad a few years back and fell in love with forex trading. And my boy, who left school with no qualifications and found reading and writing so hard because of his dyslexia, finally found something that made sense to his brain. He found a path none of us imagined, and I'm so proud of him. I'm sharing Sam's story because sometimes our children don't follow the path or timeline society lays out for them. Sometimes school doesn't fit the way their brain works, and sometimes their strengths don't show up in the usual way. And that doesn't mean those strengths aren't there. Sometimes our children need us to keep believing in them before they can see what's possible for themselves. And sometimes they need us to look beyond the usual path and ask, what kind of environment helps my child come alive? If I could go back, I'd advocate for Sam more strongly. I'd ask more questions. I'd look harder underneath the school refusal and the tummy aches. I'd understand sooner that his distress wasn't manipulation or laziness. It was communication. And maybe I would have made different choices around school. Maybe I would have considered homeschool. Maybe I would have pushed harder for support. I don't know. What I do know is that it's hard to live with regret.